Everybody. Wanted to talk a bit today about the attacks on the Jewish synagogue in Manchester, because we have a big anti-Semitism problem in the UK. Is this a problem about Islam? Is it a problem about the Israel-Gaza war? This is a complicated topic, really, really complicated topic. And I really would like to get some feedback from everybody watching and all Banter listeners and readers. So what do we know about the anti-Semitic attacks thus far? So this is from CNN. At least 2 Jewish worshippers were killed and several others injured in a car ramming and stabbing attack outside a synagogue in the English city of Manchester on Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day of the year. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer flew back early to the UK from Denmark to chair an emergency meeting, condemned the attack and warned that hatred is rising once again and Britain must defeat it once again. He used his address to reassure Britain's Jewish community and vowed to do everything in his power to guarantee their security, starting with a, quote, more visible police presence protecting your community. UK authorities announced heightened security measures at synagogues across the country after police declared a terrorist incident against the backdrop of rising anti-Semitism and other forms of religious hatred worldwide following the Hamas-led October 7th, 2023 attacks and Israel's war in Gaza. So the framing of this, I think, is extremely interesting. A lot of people saying, they blame Benjamin Netanyahu for these attacks on synagogues and attacks on Jews. And I can understand that. I really can. I get that. I think that Benjamin Netanyahu is a terrible, terrible human being who has done more to inflame tensions in the Middle East than almost anyone outside of Hamas, obviously, and Iran. He is a despicable person, and I can't wait for him to go. He should be in prison on corruption charges. But I want to express some concern I have about blaming Benjamin Netanyahu or blaming Israel for attacks on Jews worldwide. Okay, this is something that Jews have had to kind of swallow for years now, right? But the fact is that anti-Semitism started to spike, particularly in the UK, after October 7th, right? This was after Israel was attacked and the Israeli government hadn't declared war on Hamas, right? So anti-Semitism spiked to an absolutely ludicrous degree. So Jews in Jewish schools and synagogues do active shooter drills. Jewish schools in the UK do active shooter drills, right? This happens to no other minority, nobody else in the UK, or no one. English kids don't have to do active shooter drills because there are not that many guns in the UK, but Jewish kids do because of Islamic fundamentalist Islamic extremists and their threats on synagogues, and from the far right is too, but it's less so. Way less anti-Semitism from the far right than it is from fundamentalist Muslims. I think that needs to be spoken about. Look, I think being Islamophobic is terrible. I have a lot of Muslim friends in the UK. I don't like seeing them being discriminated against. But there is a serious problem with fundamentalist Islam, extremist Islam in the UK. And the UK government has not dealt with this at all. And this is, 2 people who have been killed in a synagogue. I mean, if you were to read the statistics on anti-Semitism, okay, this is from the BBC. Reports of anti-Semitic incidents in the UK in the first half of this year have reached another record high, according to figures from a Jewish security charity. Okay, this was in 2024. So there were 1,978 anti-Jewish hate incidents in 2024. That's from January to June. No other minority has to have put up with any of this kind of stuff. None. And if you think it's about the war on Gaza, so where are all the attacks on Russians? Where are all the mass killings of Russians, the Russian diaspora? Are they being shot in the streets like the 2 Israeli embassy members were in Washington, D.C.? I don't think so, right? Do Russian places of worship have to do active shooter drills? I don't think so. But the Jews do. Right? And this is, I think, my issue with holding Jews accountable worldwide for what the Israeli government is doing. So, I mean, I know about this firsthand. My family, my uncle does. I mean, he for a long time he did security in synagogues in the UK, up in North London, because of the constant death threats that members would get, and the security threats that these synagogues would get, and a lot of it, stems from Israel, as if all Jews are responsible for the state of Israel, which they are not. So, I thought I wanted to do this video, make a video about this today, and find out what other people think about this. Who's to blame here? Is it Benjamin Netanyahu? Is it fundamentalist Islam? Is it the UK government? Right? Have they not clamped down on extremist Islam? This is a really complicated topic. I get that, but as somebody of Jewish heritage, I've got to say that I find this pretty scary. Really scary, because I get death threats. I get people sending me all sorts of horrific anti-Semitic stuff. People saying they wish my kids were dead. I had to pull my kids out of school on the day of vengeance after, I forget when that was, after Israel launched its war in Gaza. I had to take my kids out of school because there was a day of vengeance against Jews worldwide. Right? The anti-Semitism it's just terrifying. It really is terrifying. And most Jews I know are just scared, right? And they don't condone what's going on in Israel. They hate Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't know a single Jew anywhere who thinks that Benjamin Netanyahu, this is personally, thinks Netanyahu is good for Israel or good for the world or good for, most of them think he should be in prison. But it's the Jews are the only people who have to take, whenever Israel does something, Jews pay the price, right? And that's not fair. And that's a double standard that other minorities don't have to accept. And this, I think, speaks to this innate anti-Semitism that a lot of countries have and a lot of people have around the world. I mean, look, it's not just Western countries. I mean, in the Muslim world, I play a lot of chess. When I play chess, I've received anti-Semitic abuse from people from Jordan, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, just because of my last name. They'll send me messages saying, "Hey, yeah, you people are hated worldwide. You're despised." That kind of stuff. That's pretty normal. So again, I don't want, I know that the left thinks this is a problem with Zionism, that any attacks on Jews is about Zionism. Really, it's about Israel. Well, maybe it's just about anti-Semitism. Maybe it's just that it's now normal to be anti-Semitic. It's been so normalized that you can just say, "Oh, well, it's about Zionism," but it's not true. I mean, the level of casual anti-Semitism I've seen recently, absolutely shocking. I was watching a video recently of a famous boxer in the UK engaging in some banter with another boxer, and they were discussing one of them being tight-fisted, being stingy with his money, and they said, "Oh yeah, well, this is a Jewish Christmas, you're Happy Jewmas or something like that," as if you can just. This is what you see a lot on the left as well, and it's I don't know. I don't know what to do about this. I don't know what to say about this. This is why I don't really spend a lot of time speaking out about Israel, because I care about Israel, what Israel's doing to the Palestinians. I think it's terrible. But I've got my own problems. Jews have got their own problems to deal with. They've got their own serious racism to contend with. And then we're also expected to then come and say, that they condemn Israel. Okay, yeah, sure, all right, I condemn Israel, right? Same as I condemn what the Chinese are doing to the Uyghurs, right? To me, I don't understand why everybody they're more interested in the conflict in Israel than they are, say, with what's happening to the Uyghurs in China, or what's going on, the civil war in Sudan. There are conflicts all over the world that are extremely deadly, and lots and lots and lots of people are dying. But as they say, if there are no Jews, there's no news. So anyway, I'd hopefully, I don't know. Is this going to get better? I don't think so. I don't know. There's a peace proposal happening in Israel right now between Israel and Gaza. Will it go through? I doubt it. I don't think Netanyahu is actually interested in peace. If you want to hear me talk about Benjamin Netanyahu, this is what I want to say. I don't think he's interested in peace at all. I think he wants to keep this war going on because it benefits him. The longer the war goes on, the more he's protected from a criminal trial. That will potentially put him in jail. So I think he has a vested interest in keeping the conflict going. And that's not good either. So, again, this is no love here for Netanyahu and this complete psychopaths in his government who are perpetuating and continuing this war. But Jews are in a terrible position right now. And yeah, okay, I would wish that Netanyahu would stop. And that the Israelis would withdraw from Gaza, but that's probably not going to happen. But why is this? Why did Jews in Manchester have to get murdered for this? I don't understand. And why is it the left has a real problem confronting fundamentalist Islam and Islamic terrorism? I don't get it. I really don't understand why this is such a big deal. I think this stems from the identity politics stuff, where Muslims are regarded as quote unquote brown people and Jews are quote unquote white people. Therefore, Jews have to be the oppressors and the brown Muslims have to be the oppressed. I think that's a really reductive and stupid way of looking at the very complex situation in the Middle East. And I think the left tries to ram through the Israeli-Palestinian crisis through the lens of their identity politics, where you're either a colonizer or colonized, or you're an oppressor, or you're the oppressed. So I think that's really not a great way of looking at it. I've written a lot about this before, and I'll do more on this again. I'll do another. There's some people I'd like to interview for this, so maybe I'll do another Substack live with another contributor who's more knowledgeable than I am about a lot of this stuff. But look, let me know what you think. I'm going to post this to the Banter. I'd appreciate your comments. Thanks to everybody for checking in. I'm enjoying doing these live things because, this is the second time I've done one. So anyway, good fun. Obviously, topic's not that much fun, but I'll check in probably tomorrow.